Jaguars undrafted rookie James Robison went for over 1,400 scrimmage yards in 14 games with a 4.5 yard per carry average. Robinson had some flashes of physicality and burst, but where he makes his living is the time between the snap and when the ball is in his hands. He shows a complete mastery of blocking schemes and how his initial tracks influence defenders. Robinson processes the flow of the defense before he even touches the ball and shaves his track to take advantage of defenders that are out of position. While it took a couple weeks for that comfort level to grow, when it clicked, Robinson was incredibly tough to stop from getting 4 to 5 yards every single play. Good backs can read first level defenders. Great backs can get their eyes onto the second level while still being able to feel the push and movement on the defensive line. Robinson is able to manipulate second level defenders and force them to commit to gaps that he can then bounce out of. The Jaguars are working 2 double teams with a fullback insert to the right. The play is designed to go in the bubble of space between the 2-eye technique on the guard and the wide 9 outside the tackle to the right. The fullback will insert to take on the linebacker, and the 2 double teams will work to the backside linebackers to wall off their scrape and pursuit. Robinson's initial track is straight on line for the bubble of space in the B gap. Before he even touches the ball in his third step, he's already shaved his track to be tighter. What he's seen is that the linebackers have all reacted hard to his initial track outside and are starting to commit over the top of his double teams. Within 3 steps, he's read the flow, understands that his double teams are going to make it hard for those linebackers to sift back over, and he's begun to change his track to exploit that. By Robinson's 5th step, those linebackers are all committed to their gaps to the play side. Robinson has forced them to commit by his initial angle. What that's also done is tempt the defensive tackles to fight for leverage to that direction so that they can shed and make a play. With everyone committed and his double teams getting onto the linebackers, Robinson squeezes off of his backside double team and gets vertical for a gain of 6 yards. Robinson isn't going to burn you downfield for huge chunks of yardage, but with his vision and understanding of the flow and concepts, he's incredibly tough to stop for consistent smaller gains. On this inside zone look from Jacksonville, Robinson is again working off of a double team from his tackle and guard. Whichever way they are able to drive or turn their man is the direction that Robinson can run off of. Remember though, his eyes are on the second level. While his initial track is right down the hash, Robinson sees the space open up to the right. He also knows that the linebacker is in position to fill there, and if he cuts too wide, he's going to be in trouble. What Robinson does is give a small shift outside on his track and get the linebacker to commit outside. That allows for his offensive lineman to get off the double team and ricochet onto the linebacker while also pushing the defensive tackle onto the guard. That small step from Robinson enabled that block to be set up. Robinson now has a vertical lane to exploit and gets downfield for an 8 or 9 yard pickup. Robinson is great at reading the first 1 or 2 steps of the defense and matching that to his own footwork to attack the vacated space. That makes him a fantastic zone runner even though he doesn't have great measurables. Robinson consistently had the patience and burst to exploit what he was seeing. On another inside zone play against the Browns, Robinson beats both linebackers with just his track behind the line of scrimmage. His initial vertical track off the 2 double teams immediately makes the linebacker commit. Even though his double team on the left is losing, by taking his track inside, that allows for the double team to the right to now wall off that inside linebacker when he tries to cut outside. After his initial cut, Robinson pushes slightly more outside. That gets the second linebacker to move, and his offensive lineman can now push the defensive tackle onto the center and kick out the linebacker to open up a crease down the hash. Earlier on in the year though, Robinson had some struggles with gap and power scheme runs. There was less reading at the second level and more staying tight to your pullers and following the blocking scheme. Early on against the Chargers, Robinson gets tempted by all the green grass in the middle of the field. The problem is, none of his linemen are expecting him to cut that direction and are down blocking defenders into that area. Robinson cuts to space, but if he had stayed on his track behind his 2 guards, there's a huge lane and wall being created outside the down block by the tight end. 4 weeks later, when the Jaguars ran the same counter play against the Browns and had similar space open up inside, Robinson was now more disciplined on his track and followed his lineman up and through the gap outside. As a zone runner, Robinson is great. As he learns and grows and becomes more comfortable with gap scheme runs, he'll only get more effective. Of note as well though are his yards per attempt jumping from 3.6 to 6.5 yards when running out of the shotgun versus under center. With Urban Meyer coming in and bringing a more spread style offense, Robinson could see a similar, if not more productive year 2. Where he does need some polish is in pass protection. He was very weak meeting guys at the line of scrimmage and routinely sat in the backfield and caught linebackers and defensive tackles and ends instead of grading them at the line of scrimmage. That forced him into the lap of the quarterback and impacted a lot of throws throughout the year. With a legitimate offseason and some strength building, that could help, but it has to be fixed if he wants to be an every down back. James Robison wins with vision and patience. He's a master at setting up blocks and is incredibly tough to stop from getting consistent chunks in the run game. He might not scare you with the home runs, but he'll wear you down, force linebackers to be patient, and grind out yards in Jacksonville.